Truth Unveiled here, and today I want to share with you all of the warnings that have been going on and issued at the Olympic Games that are supposed to take place in August of 2016 in Brazil. And I'm here at the BBC and it says London terror attack inevitable, says former Olympic policing chief. And like I said, the question you should be wondering is why that is the case. But it goes on to say the police officer responsible for keeping London safe during the 2012 Olympics, Bob Broadhurst, has said a terrorist attack on the capital is inevitable. Speaking to BBC London, the former Met police commander said it will happen at some stage. We don't know where, we don't know when, and on what scale. And the question you should be wondering is, why are they always pushing this agenda of terror? And oh my gosh, terror can happen there, terror can happen here, when we know who's funding terror to begin with. I'll give you a hint. It's the Zionists, the same people who are funding these magazines to write about these things, to make you fear and to instill fear into you, when we know where it comes from. There are no real terrorists. They're the ones funding it to begin with. Not only that, but am I saying anything will happen at the Olympic Games this year? Am I saying anything will actually take place? Will a big event actually happen? The answer to that question is I don't know. I do not know the future. I do not predict things. What I'm here to do is to let you know the agenda and to show you what's going on and to report and show you physically what is actually happening, as well as let you know the bigger agenda behind it. Now, normally what they tend to do with these types of things is they tend to get it into our minds and mentally conditioning us and tell us that, oh, there could be a terrorist event, oh, there could be a terror attack in this place, at this time, and then normally what they tend to do is that another big event happens someplace else when you least expect it. Will that happen for this? I don't know, but I just thought it's something that you need to be aware of and see the bigger mental psyop, because they're going to keep pushing this terrorist agenda. They're going to keep pushing this agenda until soon enough you could become a terrorist. If you're an American and you are against immigration, you could be a terrorist if you're even watching this video right now, because that's where it's headed. You could have ties to ISIS, and even though we know who funds ISIS, but you could have ties to ISIS if you're watching this video. Oh, but it gets worse than that. Trust me, it does. So then it should not surprise us when we're seeing mainstream media outlets and mainstream news sources, mainstream medias and mainstream newspapers, magazines, journals, and articles all talking to and pointing to the same thing, spreading the agenda of the Zionists, which is what the terrorism hoax, because we know who the real terrorists are. So it's no surprise that mainstream media sources like Wall Street Journal, NPR, Fox News, Straits News, and even a website dedicated to the road to the Olympic Games itself are all talking about terrorism and the threat of terrorism for the Olympic Games. And we're seeing an uptick in it as well, because last I checked, 16 years ago, there was no such thing. Now all of a sudden it's a giant threat, and oh my gosh, now everybody's under fear, because what, there is a bigger agenda behind all this. And what is that agenda exactly? Well, you're going to find out in just a minute. And I'm here at the Daily Star, and it says, Brazil, you are next. ISIS issues serious threat to 2016 Rio Olympics. Brazil has warned the threat of an ISIS terror attack on the 2016 Rio Olympic Games is rising. Yeah, because we know there's always a real threat when ISIS is involved, isn't it? When we know better than that. But I've just shown you over 5 mainstream media sources that are all pushing this threat and have been pushing. And mind you, this was back in April, folks, so you can only imagine how bad it's going to get when it's getting closer, as it gets towards June, July, and even August, if they even have the Olympics to begin with, or if they even move them. We don't know, but I do know that it's only going to uptick even more from here, because they're trying to mentally condition us for what's to come, if there even is an attack at all anywhere, because that's what they're good at doing, is inflicting fear and so-called terror into the hearts of everybody. But it's time to see the bigger agenda. But it says the country's national intelligence agency has warned the threat of a terror attack by Islamic militants is on the rise, less than 4 months before the games start in August, when we know who's funding these militants to begin with. Counterterrorism Director Luiz Alberto Salaberry revealed the number of Brazilians who sympathize with Islamic State, also known as Daesh, is increasing, and he confirmed a credible threat to state security from ISIS had been identified. The warning from the country's most senior anti-terror chief will strike fear in the hearts of the thousands of Brits preparing to head off for the sporting showcase. Or maybe articles like this will do that, because that's what they're good at doing. Why are they doing this? What's the bigger agenda? What? Increased security in order for what? Martial law, surveillance. They're stripping away your rights any way they can when the mainstream media and the Zionists are pushing things like this. That is what they are trying to do. That is what they're doing, and I hope you see it. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. The mental psyop doesn't just stop with the warnings of terrorism and oh my gosh, ISIS could be behind this. Watch out, everybody, fear for your life. No, it's a bigger mental psyop than just that, and you're going to see exactly what I mean. But we cannot just have the terrorism threat. Oh no, we cannot just have that. We also need to have the Zika virus threat as well, because that needs to be there just as well. And I'm here at CNN, everybody's favorite, and it says postpone or move Olympics to prevent Zika catastrophe, professor urges. Even though it's been proven that the Rockefellers are the one who funds the Zika virus to begin with. Remember, problem, reaction, solution. They caused the problem by funding these fake diseases and then by spreading a so-called pandemic, and then cause reaction of fear in order for what? Their solution of the New World Order: population reduction, surveillance, and military police state. That is what the goal is. And it says with the Zika virus widening in Brazil, a leading Canadian public health professor says the Summer Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro should be postponed or moved to prevent a foreseeable global catastrophe, according to them, resulting in the deaths of adults and in babies born with malformed heads. Simply put, Zika infection is more dangerous and Brazil's outbreak more extensive than scientists reckoned a short time ago, which leads to the bitter truth. The 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Games must be postponed, moved, or both as a precautionary concession, University of Ottawa professor Amir Attaran wrote in the Harvard Public Health Review. And it goes on to talk about, there are concerns about the Zika virus, just like there are concerns about terrorism. Why all the sudden concerns? Why is all of this taking place? And should you be concerned? I hope so, because I'm telling you, it's all a big mental psyop. What are they getting ready for? But see, they just want you to focus on the terrorism. They just want you to focus on the Zika virus, because those are the biggest threats, aren't they? But I'm here at the Washington Post, and this talks about the political turmoil that's been going on in Brazil as well, that's been recently going on and taking place with the impeachments and everything, that's also affecting the Olympic Games as well. And it says, after political turmoil, Olympic organizers, they push on. And it says Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff greets supporters as she leaves the Planalto presidential palace in Brasilia, Brazil, Thursday, May 12, 2016. So just yesterday. Speaking hours after the Senate voted to suspend her on Thursday, Rousseff blasted the impeachment process against her as fraudulent and promised to fight what she characterized as an injustice more painful than the torture she endured under a past military dictatorship. The venues are, in the words of organizers, 99% ready. The torch is winding its way around the country in a 3-month relay ending at the opening ceremony. What's interesting about this relay, you're going to see it in just a second. Where did it start off with, and where were they getting ready for it in Greece with it when it came to the torch? You're going to see in just a second. But it says, even if the country is preoccupied with the impeachment of the president, organizers insist the Olympics won't be touched by the ongoing political turmoil. And the question is, well, how do we know? I don't know myself. Only time will tell. Will that bear that out? Stay tuned. The organization of the games is absolutely following the right path, Carlos Newsman, head of the organizing committee, said on Thursday, and it will continue that way. But we'll see about that, because remember, the Zionists, they're very clever and crafty indeed. What are they getting ready for? But it's not just them that are reporting it. It's also the New York Times that's also reporting about the political crisis that's been going on. Or is it a staged political crisis planned ahead of time? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. I think we'll have to think about that very well. But then it's also interesting too that the economy is also talking about it too, and the econ and how this will affect the Brazilian economy as well, because the economy isn't so great there. It's not great in anywhere in the world at all. all. But they don't want you to know that, do they? But it says an unplanned presidency. Michel Temer has better ideas than Dilma does. That does not mean he will make a successful president. And this is from May 14th. And it says vice presidents rarely wield real power. Presidential candidates pick them as running mates to broaden their appeal to voters or to butter up allies. Once in office, they become appendages unless fortune thrusts them into the top job. In Brazil, that happens more often than you may think. Jose Sarney became president in 1985 when the man Congress chose over 21 years of military rule died before he was sworn in. Mr. Sarney oversaw failed attempts to squash hyperinflation. In 1992, Itamar Franco replaced the first directly elected leader after the dictatorship of Fernando Collor, who was impeached for taking bribes. Franco healed an economy damaged by his predecessor's erratic policies. Now, what's interesting about this is that why is all of this going on and taking place around the same time as the Olympics, one of the world's biggest events that billions of people will be tuning into? Is that a coincidence? It's not looking like it. But it goes on to say, as The Economist went to press, Brazil was bracing itself for its third unplanned presidency in as many decades. Interesting. In the early hours of May 12th, the Senate voted to open the impeachment trial of President Dilma Rousseff. Under the law, she must now step aside for up to 180 days, so that's about, 6 months, the same period of time that the Olympics are going to take place, while the chamber considers her fate. Michel Temer, the vice president, will now move into the Planalto, as the presidential palace is known. If the Senate votes by a two-thirds majority to convict Ms. Rousseff, then Mr. Temer would serve out the rest of her term, which is to end in 2018. Very interesting. What are they really getting ready for, embracing us for? And I hope you're seeing the bigger agenda. And I just hope that all of you out there are really seeing how mainstream media is it's all propaganda. It's all staged ahead of time. It's all it's just a big mental psyop. And I hope you're seeing the mental psyop for what it really is. Now, I will leave all of the helpful links below so you can take a look at this on your own time, because I know I sped through all of the terrorism documents and articles, but I did that just to show you real quick the bigger agenda. But you could take a look yourself and you'll see that I'm not kidding. A ton of all the mainstream media sources are planning us and getting us ready and mentally conditioning us with, the threat of terror, because there's always a threat. But here I am at ABC, and this was reported by ABC and the Associated Press, more mainstream media sources, more alphabet soups. But also, not only does it talk about the political crisis that's been going on, but also the economy of Brazil as well, and how that could affect the Olympic Games and everything else. And it says, as if an impeachment crisis weren't bad enough, Brazil is also contending with this worst recession in decades. And it's interesting that it mentions recession, because we're seeing that it's not just Brazil that's going through a recession. It's also Greece, it's also Italy, it's also Portugal. It's so many other places worldwide that are going through economic turmoil and not so good economies right now. You can also look at China and Japan, their economies. You can look at the economies in other places worldwide. It's not looking good. What is going on? And you can also look at so-called professional economists, and they will even tell you for the American economy that it's looking just like it did back in 2007 and 2008, just before the big collapse that led America into a recession. Is that what they're getting ready for again? I hope you're seeing the warning signs ahead of time. But it goes on to say the impeachment of President Dilma Rousseff left the acting president to be Vice President Michel Temer to confront an economic crisis that matches the political mess. Brazil's economy, the world's seventh biggest, shrank 3.8% last year, and the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, another alphabet soup, expects it to contract by the same amount in the year 2016. Brazil, an exporter of commodities like sugar, coffee, and iron ore, has been rocked by a steep drop in the price of raw materials, partly the result of weakening demand as the Chinese economy decelerates. I'm telling you, worldwide economies are deteriorating. I wonder why. Brazil has had economic crises before, said Shannon O'Neill, senior fellow for Latin America Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations, or the CFR, our favorite, and I'm being sarcastic. It's had political crises. It's rare that they get both of them at the same time. Oh, but what she's not telling you is that they're the ones behind it and planning it behind closed doors every single chance they get. Do you think that all of this is just a coincidence? Or do you think it's all by design? Or should I say, by design? Now, of course, they have mainstream media sources like CNN and other alphabet soup saying Brazil, economic collapse worse than feared, because they always love using that word fear any chance they get. I wonder why, but they're saying that it's the worst economic recession in Brazil in 10 years. And you don't think that this is going on worldwide? And what does this have to do with the Olympics? Oh, it has a whole lot to do with it, because they're getting us ready and mentally conditioning us for the worst to come. I wonder why that is. And like I said, none of us knows what's going to happen, but it's good to be aware and awaken at all levels and see from all perspectives what could happen. Could something happen at Brazil? I don't know, but I do know this. Something could definitely happen outside of Brazil. Something could happen in Timbuktu. We don't know, but it's good to be aware, awaken, and ready for these things to come when they take place. Oh, but the mental psyop, it just keeps going. It doesn't stop from there, because I just typed this in actually from the Independent, and look at what pops up. It says Rio Olympics could spark full-blown global health disaster, says Harvard scientist. It's only getting worse. The mental psyop is only getting worse. Oh, but it's not just them, because I'm back at ABC. And as you can see, it says Brazil faces slew of problems ahead of Olympics opening ceremony. Now, this article basically talks about everything that we've been talking about, and this article came out yesterday, actually, and it talks about, of course, the Zika virus, which we know is a hoax, and it's purported by the Zionists to begin with. It's all staged and planned ahead of time. It's just used for more fear-mongering from the elite and the Illuminati. But it goes on to say, then it talks about the turmoil and corruption scandal that we've been seeing with the impeachment and the economy in Brazil. Then it goes on to talk about that there were team doping problems, of course, that's there. Not to mention, of course, the venues for the games and where the venues can actually take place. So we see all these things happening at once. I wonder what they're pushing. What could be the bigger agenda? Now, I know I've already gone over this and talked about this in some of my previous posts, but I would just like to reiterate this. I'm here at Reuters, and it says, Sun God Apollo presides over final flame rehearsal. Hello, Apollo. Who do you think that is? The beast of Revelation, Satan himself. Let's keep going. But it says, the high priestess raised her arms toward the sky, invoking the sun god Apollo at the birthplace of the ancient Olympics on Wednesday, and the final rehearsal for the flame that will burn at the Rio Games later this year. And it's no surprise that Google did a doodle that even dedicated the 120 years of the Olympic Games, as well as the 240th birthday of the Illuminati. Is that a coincidence? Not looking like it. But it even showed pillars and opening of doorways. What do you think they're getting ready for? But it goes on to say, in a long pleated robe, she then knelt solemnly to the ground and lit the torch, within a few seconds holding a concave mirror to catch the sun's rays. Hundreds of onlookers stood quietly near the ruins of the Doric temple to the goddess Hera in ancient Olympia, southern Greece, where Greeks competed in the ancient games. The ritual with the high priestess and the torch was only established 8 decades ago for the Berlin Games. The flame will be used as a backup if overcast skies loom over the official ceremony on Thursday at ancient Olympia, but weather forecasts predict that event will be similarly blessed by abundant sunshine. Blessed by who? I'll let you think about that. It's very special. It's been a dream of mine to come here for many years, said one of the tourists. What do you think all of this represents? What do you think they're getting ready for? It's time for what? The sun god order out of chaos, the phoenix rising out of the ashes. Do you really think they just put a phoenix at the 2012 London Olympics because they felt like it and because they had nothing better to do and because, oh, it was cute and pretty and because, oh, look at the lights? No, they put a phoenix there to let the elite and the Illuminati know that it's time for destruction and chaos, order out of chaos. Now, like I said, we don't know when, we don't know the day or hour. I'm not predicting anything, but I'm telling you the bigger agenda. What? There's no surprise that they would put a phoenix at the London Olympic Games, and they're promoting all this stuff to go with the Olympics, not to mention the Seoul Invictus Games that are taking place this week, actually, and the 100-day countdown as well that preceded it. Invictus Sun, hello, it's time to wake up to see the bigger agenda for what it is. So, what is the conclusion then? What can we conclude from all of this, and what can we expect as the Olympics are right around the corner and as it gets closer and closer to the Olympics, if it even begins on August 5th, which is when it's slated to begin, and if it even ends on August 21st, which is when it's slated to end? Well, you can definitely expect this to spread worldwide. You can expect the threat of terrorism to spread and expand worldwide, because then they're going to try to tell us, oh, well, there could be a threat in Brazil, so there could be a threat in this city over here. There could be a threat from ISIS in that city over there. Oh, so we need increased measures and increased security and public areas to take care of this threat and fight off this threat in the name of national security to keep you safe. You don't think they're going to do that? Oh, I suggest you think again, because they've been doing that since 9/11, when we know the real truth behind that. But anyway, you can also expect increased security propaganda pushed worldwide, and you can expect mainstream media sources saying, oh, there have been increased security measures in this city over here. There have been increased security measures in that city over there because of what could potentially happen at the Brazil Olympics. You can expect more terror and more ISIS threats, because we know that they're just going to keep pushing that until their real agenda comes through. You can also expect more counterterrorism propaganda to be pushed, that, oh, counterterrorism, we're fighting off this threat. And then you can also expect more fear tactics and increased warnings, so called, from the lying mainstream media, Zionist funded media and articles and newspapers and all of that. That is what you can expect from all of this. That is the conclusion you can make. Like I said, will anything happen at the Brazil itself during the Olympic Games? I don't know. Will anything happen someplace else during that time? I don't know, but it's good to be ready and aware and awakened to all of this, and to always expect the unexpected, because you never know. So I hope you're awakened. Please seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, so all may be well with you. This is Truth Unveiled here, saying stay awakened and stay aware, and always be alert and be ready for the unexpected. Shalom.